to the Krueg Show, everybody. Hope everybody's having a phenomenal day. Giants are not having a phenomenal day. The Warriors are not having a phenomenal day. But it is a beautiful day around Northern California. It was a perfect, picturesque day for Giants baseball. We get the finale today between the Giants and the Rockies. The calm before the storm, if you will, with the Dodgers about to roll in. I'm Larry Krueger, joined by Ryan Smith, RS or R Smitty 13 on Twitter at SportsLarryK on Twitter for yours truly. Dan Coccimilgio will join us as well. Not a great defensive game for the Giants. They had Logan Webb out there today, Rye, and you're thinking, okay, hey, maybe the Giants will win this game. They got a lead. They had their backup, their brand new catcher making an impact, threw a guy out at second, had a nice little RBI. Giants with a 2-0 lead after the second, and then the fourth inning happens. And the fourth inning, Giants made 3 errors. Rockies scored 3 runs. Rockies would add another run in the 7th, and they go on for the 4-2 victory. And the Giants four runs, 10 hits. They out hit, or I should say, Rockies had 4 runs. They got out hit 10-7, but the Giants made 4 errors, and you just can't win baseball games when you're making 4 errors. It's just as simple as that. We could talk about other attributes of this thing, and there's all kinds of things to talk about today, but not a lot of offense. And Logan Webb pitched well enough to win and didn't win. 6 2/3, 7 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, walked the 1, struck out 3, 100 pitches. He was in the strike zone all day. 70 of them were strikes, but the Giants didn't do a lot against Austin Gomber. He didn't walk anybody, so he didn't set up rallies for them. And defensively, they're a mess right now. And I don't know, I'm not sure exactly why. I'm not sure if it's an easy thing to just clean up in one day. What did you think of the game?
Well, let's just say this. I had to go get a Red Bull because I got so bored with freaking offense, man. Just a really gross game. I'm just really bummed out by these Giants because it's not like we've been playing these juggernaut teams. And
I know you want to fatten up on the Rockies, but they're basically what the Giants are right now. They're basically the same kind of club.
And it's the Rockies on the road with our ace on the mound, and the Dodgers are 4-6 in their last 10, and we didn't make up nearly any ground. We're 6.5 back. That's not horrible. If we win this series, things could be looking up. But man, how many times are we going to blow a freaking, great start? Logan Webb was absolutely dealing. It was kind of the opposite of the Rodon problem, right? Like he pitches, gives strikes, like they, put it in play, but it's never hard hit balls. I think he had like 50 pitches coming into that inning with all the errors, and then he left, and it was like, all right, well, I guess maybe he can at most go 1 more inning. I don't know. The Giants need some sort of surge, somebody to step up and get hot, somebody to really put their foot down and kind of establish an identity for this ball club. Because right now the starting pitching, it's good. It's not great anymore. It hasn't been fantastic. I love Webb. I really like Rodon, but starting pitching hasn't been that great. Bullpen's worse than last year. Hitting, it's pretty much. I don't know. We have a schizophrenic lineup. Who knows? Maybe one inning we'll put up 7 runs, but then we'll go 14 straight without a run. And our defense is crappy, and that was the one thing we could rely on, man. I don't remember even the last time the Giants they were making so many foolish errors in the field, and God, it just okay. Todd McLean. I was at the game. I was bored too. It looked like my son's travel ball team when he was 12 and didn't win a game. That is how it felt. That is actually how it felt. So.
Tribe says the honeymoon with Kapler is over. I want a divorce. Oh man, Giants fans getting salty. It's an interest. I mean, last year everything went right. They won 107 games. They were, it was really weird. It was a weird year because they got away with a lot of the same caliber defensive players. They're just not getting away with this year. Right? I mean, do they miss Steven Duggar? Yeah, but I mean, is that why they've regressed? Because they've taken away the defensive center fielder. I mean, they missed Buster. And there's no doubt Crawford's a year older, and he's kind of he's lost maybe a step of mobility. You got some older guys on the left side of the diamond with Longoria and Crawford, and the guy that I really like if you said to me, what do you think of Thairo Estrada? I like Thairo Estrada. And what do you think of Thairo Estrada as a fielder? I like Thairo Estrada. But then, we're seeing some inconsistency in his glove if he's forced to play every day. Yeah. And he's a good offense. He's got some offensive ability. He's hitting 274. He can hit the ball out of the ballpark. He's got a little power. He can play a lot of spots. And he's made some spectacular plays at second base this year. But 2 more errors for Estrada today, and then 1 for Slater, 1 for Ruff. I guess I hate to point at one guy because, especially Ruff, because Ruff is going through family tragedy. But he's had a real step back year. And they're the way they set up their roster, it's like they're leaning on Darren Ruff to be like, Paul Konerko or something from years gone by with the Chi Sox. He's going to be some stalwarts. Every day he's going to hit 4 or 5 in your lineup, and he's going to play left field and first base. And he's going to, that's fine, but you got to hit. You have to hit when you're a first baseman and a left fielder and you're a right-handed hitter and you're playing every day. You got to hit, and he's hitting 213. And then you mix in the fact that he's subpar defensively, and it's I hate to say it, it's rough. It's rough. The Giants right now, and then I've had a couple people come up to me, and I don't know how you feel about this, Rye, but I've had a couple people come up to me and just go, you know what? The Giants need a star. They need a star. I got to have a reason to watch. And I was saying, hey, I watch every night because I'm a baseball fan. I'm a baseball fan. I'm a Giants fan. I'm going to watch. But I hear that when you look at this lineup, there's not a lot of, if you're a brand name guy that needs brand name people to support it, this is not your club. There's not a lot of brand names going on here.
No, and at the very least, even somebody obviously, I don't expect Wins to be, just this unreal slugger. But there's even him going 2 for 2 today, right after getting him and throwing that was kind of exciting.
Yeah,
it just shows I don't really think. Got Danny.
Look who's in the house. Monster Slam. Suddenly gets a little notoriety, a couple highlights, maybe a new Twitter, maybe a new handle. Suddenly he's showing up late.
He shows up when he wants. Yeah.
He shows up whenever he wants.
I had other appearances to make.
Yeah, I was at Macy's signing babies. I'm appearing with Donovan Walton on Saturday at Mervin's, and we're gonna hang. You guys remember Mervin's?
Oh yeah.
Rye's like, what's Mervin's? I have no idea.
Giving a blank stare.
Danny, Rye and I are commiserating over this loss. Weigh in here.
Well, I got this new shirt in the mail today. It says. Keep calm.
Wait, you got to show it more of the shirt. Keep calm and what?
Oh, and beat the Dodgers. Oh,
and hate the Dodgers.
I don't know. You know what? How are you guys feeling about this? About the Dodger hatred right now? My hatred meter is pretty low. I think that's maxed out with the Celtics right now.
Yeah, I'm focused on the Warriors and Celtics. They're coming in. The Dodgers are coming into town, and it's kind of like, you know what? My energy is with the Warriors, Celtics, and this team right now is so boring that it's hard to watch. They hit a leadoff triple in the first inning, and they don't get him home. And
That's
then
disgusting. That is disgusting.
I mean, you're top of the order, and you can't get a guy in from third with nobody out. They had bases loaded the other day with nobody out and didn't score. It's mind-boggling to watch. And then the miscues in the field. I mean, just little league mistakes, throwing to third base and letting the guy go to second twice in a game. I mean, Yaz threw it in, and then somebody else threw it in to let the runners advance. And, those errors on Estrada, I mean, the first one, he dropped the ball, line drive. I don't know if it was knuckling. He should have had it probably. And then the second one was kind of tough because he was kind of blocked by the base runner. And but still, you got to make those plays in the big leagues. 4 errors, and was that 1 inning? 4 or 3 in 1 inning?
3 in 1 inning. 3 in the fourth inning. I think 1 in the 7th.
Yeah, and then just not hitting at all. And it's just, I don't know. It's. I don't want to say it feels like 2017 all over again when they were down and you felt like it was over, and even they were down 1 run. I don't feel like that, but this is a rough stretch. And like you said, with Darren Ruff,
what do you do? I mean, what do you do to turn this thing around? Because, I mean, it's easy to say, trade this guy, trade that guy. I mentioned it last night. I'd love to see, NorCal Collector says, is Juan Soto still available? Thank you. He'll be here all week. I mean, the Giants need like a shakeup. They don't need a gigantic sell-off, but they could use like a multiplayer trade where they add a couple players, subtract a couple players, and kind of reshape their roster. I just kind of felt like the season kind of snuck up on Farhan. Hey, we were talking about Suzuki, and then all of a sudden, they're talking about pivoting to Trevor Story, and then they didn't land either. And then Castellanos, and they didn't land him either. They didn't land Schwarber, but now they're kind of in this mix where they're better than 500, yet they're flawed, yet they could be on a playoff trajectory, yet they could be in a rebuild type year. It's like, what's the direction? I'd love to hear him come out and say, you know what, this is our path. We think we can win the World Series out of the wild card spot, and we can do it this freaking year. And so we're going to try to add at the deadline, add some significant pieces, improve our club, and we are in strict go for it mode right now. And then there's the, Luciano, Harrison, Matos, these guys are 2023, 2024. We're really, we want to entertain our fans this year, but we're really looking towards 23, 24. Then say it and make a move that goes in that direction, that bolsters that movement. But to just kind of, you got some prospects, and you won 107 last year, and everybody knows you got a ton of cash, and you're not necessarily spending it. And it's like, I think there's just a lot of fans there's like a ton of, first of all, we all know there are a ton of Giants fans, but there's a ton of Giants fans that are kind of observing this from afar going, I haven't bought my tickets yet this year. I haven't been out there yet this year. I went before the pandemic. I haven't gone since. I want to get back in the mix, but I need something to draw me to the yard. And right now, I don't see the guy who draws people to the yard. And that would be what I would want is go get that player or develop that player that people tune in every night at 6:45 on NBC Sports Bay Area, on the radio, at the ballpark, because they got to see that guy. And losing Buster and then not getting any kind of not having your prospects ready to graduate to the big leagues. They're kind of in the in-between here. Am I reading this wrong?
Yeah,
I mean, Mike says Aaron Judge, but Aaron Judge, the Yankees are having a monster year. Maybe I'll get him in the offseason, maybe.
Yeah, you might be able to get him in the offseason, but they're not getting rid of him this year. There's no way at all. Here's where I'm at.
Where are
Here's
the
where
Giants
I'm at
right now? If we went state of the state on the Giants, where are they?
Let's all give it. Let's all. That's Larry. It's funny you say that because I was going to say what I want to hear from Farhan, and this actually it'll help me enjoy the games more. Is I want Farhan to come out and give a mission statement for this season. What are your objectives? What are you trying to do? Is this a team that you think could potentially win the World Series? Are we in an in-between year where, you know what, we don't want to lose a bunch of games. We want to stay competitive for the culture. And then just, we're kind of waiting it out till 23, 24 when we get our prospects up. At this point, I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of Papierski. I'm sick of Walton. I'm sick of these guys they come up, they can play. It's just like, all right, Farhan, you're playing fantasy baseball with all these randos. And it's like, I don't feel like anybody in our lineup has caught a flow. I don't know if that has anything to do with the way it's being managed. It seems like our guys, people are coming out a little bit, against Farhan. It seems like there's maybe a little bit of tension there. I mean, not Farhan, Kapler. I just think, honestly, at this point, if he told me, look, I don't think we're going to win the World Series. We're kind of just, trying to keep this culture. We're going to try a few things, try and see, kind of almost auditioning guys that we think could be part of the core in a couple of years. I'm fine with that. But, and I'm down to trade players and get prospects back. But we need juice. Yeah. We need juice. And the only way, I think that in this...
You'd rather trade players for prospects than prospects for players? Because this guy makes... Rebel 444 makes a good point. He's saying if Christian Pache going from the Braves to the A's got the Braves or netted the Braves Matt Olson, why can't an Elliot Ramos net or a Ramon Laureano or a Frankie Montas? And I think that's a pretty good... that's a pretty decent comment right there.
I'm with Ryan on this because I'm at the point as a season ticket holder, I want to...
look at Danny flexing right there as a season ticket holder,
salaries.
Well, what I'm trying to say is
I'm not just here. I'm invested. I'm going to talk about an annuity later. And okay, go ahead, Danny.
But as a season ticket holder who sells a lot of games I don't attend, I don't want to eat the tickets. So I want them to be competitive, but I do want to find out if the goal is to win the World Series.
In the secondary market, you want to make sure that there's a burgeoning secondary market for those ticks.
We should have some sort of bet where you have to actually physically eat your tickets.
Man.
Or maybe Faith or Buster could eat them.
Yeah.
One for each.
I had to eat yesterday's and today's because StubHub is all messed up and you can't sell the tickets. So I was actually trying to make some phone calls to attorneys this afternoon for a class action lawsuit. I was so ticked because I haven't even been able to sell my tickets for the Dodger games this weekend. It's pathetic because they're down the system. So anyway.
And I'll probably buy those off you maybe.
Yeah. There's probably people in the chat are like.
Well, Friday night. If anybody wants tickets for Friday or Saturday night, Sundays did sell a month ago when StubHub was working fine. But the Dodger tickets are the ones I make money on when I don't go.
I could picture Saturday night. I could picture Saturday night maybe for my kid. We can talk. We can talk. I know a guy who knows a guy.
Okay. Anyway, getting back to the club itself, I would like to see them actually. My point I was going to make was if they're not going to be competitive, I'd rather see them do something like the Angels but I don't want to eat my tickets is what I was getting at.
Dump the manager? What do the Angels do?
14-game losing streak, so you're forced to sell off all your good guys, and you bring in a boatload of – I mean, you look at this roster. It is loaded with guys that are going to – teams that are in contention would want. A Wilmer Flores, a Rodon –
so you're with Rye. You'd rather sell player. You would rather sell than buy.
If you can
that's the question of the day right there. Should the Giants buy or sell? I mean, this is a reasonable conversation. It's June the freaking 9th. It's not like it's May 1st. Yeah. It's June 9th. It's time to decide. Would you sell or would you buy?
Not right now because
I would try to still buy.
They're still in wild. They're still if today was the playoffs, they'd still be in. I mean, they're right there. Atlanta's right on their tail, and Philadelphia's coming, but they're going to fall back. They'll have a downturn. It's still, June, like you said, June 9th. There's still 100 games or so left. So I believe that it's too early to do anything. But my point is what Ryan was saying is, what's the mission statement? Is this a club they believe can win the World Series? Because if you don't fully believe you have the horses to win the World Series, or that you're going to go for it like Atlanta did and make trades at the deadline to bring in Jorge Soler, a Jock Peterson, or Rosario, and if you're not going to do that, then
I'm okay. Let's talk about that for just a second, though. The Giants, you're talking to a fan base that saw their team win a World Series with Travis Ishikawa, with Juan Perez, with Gregor Blanco, with, all kinds of guys. Pat Burrell was hitting 198 when they got him in 2010. Cody Ross was just a nobody, and all of a sudden got hot at the end of the year. I'm just saying, it's hard to look at your club and say, can you win or not? It's like, to me, it's like, can you get into the playoffs? If you can get into the tournament, anything can happen. I think we're all keenly aware that anything can happen once you're there. So
that's why I say it's too early to consider selling.
I don't know. I mean, it's like, obviously the playoffs are still there. So I don't want to sell off any meaningful piece for a rental for this year.
No,
so they're not. I wouldn't be in that mode, but I don't know that I'm with Studwagon 91, which is a great handle. With definitely sell. I mean, there's a lot of people saying, Mike here says sell, sell, sell. Mike says get prospects back and build that way. NorCal Collector says buy.
Yeah. Here's the thing. They are 30-27.
They're over 500.
Yeah. This weekend will tell a lot. If they can win 2 of 3 against LA, everything changes, the mood changes. But if LA comes in here and sweeps them out, and all of a sudden you're almost 10 out, and you're probably not in wild card, one of the 3 wild cards, you fall back. You're still in it, but it's gonna change a lot if they get swept. So here's my thinking. Belt, as I said last night on the show, and I've said for weeks, Belt is the key. He's the catalyst. Once he gets in the lineup, you got to find out when he's going to be available. I'm hearing within a week or two. Belt and Wade went on a reassignment today, I believe. So he's running full speed. According to reports, he's running the bases, and so he's on assignment. He'll be back probably within a week. If Belt comes back, see what you got, because that was the team. Those were the catalyst a lot last year. And if they start hitting and they come back and you get some pop in the lineup, how many home runs did Wade hit last year? 18, something like that?
Something like that. 16, I think, maybe.
16, 18, and Belt hit 29. I mean, you're talking over 40 home runs between those two guys right there last year.
But they've regressed in all 3 phases. Last year, they were a great pitching staff, great bullpen. They scored a ton of runs, and they picked up the ball. I don't know how they picked up the ball, but their defensive analytics, I thought the positioning was incredible last year. This year, we've seen the rotation regress. We've seen the pen be inconsistent. We've seen the depth of the lineup erode, and they're not scoring runs like they used to. And now they've taken a clear step backwards defensively. Now I'm not sure why. And it was funny. I heard Baggerly earlier this week, and he was talking about it. It was interesting, basically just saying that, they may have overachieved a little bit defensively last year, and they may be kind of a little regression to the mean, as far as what we're seeing from them defensively this year. Robert Rothberg says, guys, when will people realize never count out the Giants? Or he says, never count out the Giants out. We got you. But Yeah, I get you. I mean, that's the thing. And the Giants didn't get to be, the Giants are not the kind of team that wants to pull the plug on the season. They just don't. They don't.
No,
they don't do that.
It's too early for that.
And I don't even know that they have anybody that's really a prime, July guy. Unless you're going to trade Belt. I don't know that they have, are people really clamoring for Wilmer Flores? And what are you getting out of that? To me, I'd rather, if I really felt I could sell the Wilmer Floreses of my roster and, guys who are veterans, let's say, and maybe don't have a deal beyond this year, and I thought it could mean something, I would consider it. But since I really don't think you're going to get much, I'd almost rather try to go the other route and just hold on to your top prospects and try to use some of the other minor league inventory you have to make an addition or two that helps you squeeze into the playoff picture this year. Because it's doable. There's an extra playoff team this year.
All I want to do is get into the playoffs because, like you said, Larry, anything can happen. They won the World Series from a wild card position in 2014. And you look at this new format, it's a 3-game series now. It's not a one and done wild card game. So you really have a shot to go deep into the playoffs if you can just get in because you win 2 of 3. You basically win a series. Whether it's home or away, you've got a legitimate shot with Webb and Rodon or Webb and Junis or whoever those 2 guys are going to be. And a third, if it goes a game 3, Alex Wood is a pretty good pitcher when there's pressure. They just got to get in the playoffs and be healthy. And that's the key is playing your best ball at the right time. And right now it's early and they stink. Donovan Walton, he's a good utility guy, but I'm sorry, he's not a shortstop. The guy barely gets his throws to first base. I've never seen a shortstop in the major leagues throw so many balls in the dirt. Routine throws. He just doesn't have a strong arm unless he's not letting it fly. I don't know. But
he's like a 25th man.
And
he's not a shortstop. He's one of these guys who the best thing you can say about him is that can play a bunch of spots. He's got great versatility at the back end of your roster, but he's at shortstop. That's asking a lot. I agree. What do you think of this comment here from Anonymous? He said, they made the mistake of buying last year Chris Bryant for 6 weeks. Cost him Caleb Killian. He's already up in the big leagues, and he's pitched well. They also gave away Alexander Canario in that trade. I don't know. I'm not going to say last year that was a mistake because they were on a 107-win pace. It was an epic year, right?
And
they had to support their team. And, that's to me, it's just an indication of, guess what? You get to July, you're going to pay. You're going to have to trade players that other people, want. And even if, you can't you're not getting Chris Bryant at the deadline over other teams if you're not going to offer something of significance.
Right. And the other thing, I look at this team right now, what's making it it's starting to feel this year's team is feeling a little bit like Farhan's first year, 2019. And all the guys, there's so many transactions that people are coming from other organizations. They're not like bringing up all these guys from our own home raised guys. They're going to Seattle to pick up guys, Baltimore. They're picking up guys that nobody's ever heard of. And all of a sudden you got 3 or 4 of them in the lineup. And it feels
like hubris to an extent for Farhan. And also I got to say, I think that we're all as Giants fans, similar to how, Cy is like, we're going to win. We all, the championship, we've always won. It's like, we can always say oh, wow, we won 3 World Series with, ragtag group of guys comparatively to, other great teams. You're like, we're right. But we had Lincecum, Baumgartner, Kane, Vogelsong, Hudson was great.
Bullpen.
Freaking Jonathan Sanchez was really good, and we had Buster. We had all kinds of guys. We had Pablo was still hitting well. Uribe hit like 25 home runs in 2010. Freddie Sanchez was the 300 hitter.
And that core 4 relief staff.
Yeah,
they weren't introducing minor league players every single day to the roster, saying this is Padlo, and I mean the Giants have had, I would say, at least a half dozen guys just this year that they've added to the roster. I've been getting Baseball America for decades. I mean, it's amazing how many of these guys I've never heard of. So I don't know. We'll see.
I do really think that we should, because for this market, I think that what I could see us getting Bryce Harper or something like that, and that being a huge mistake, and us still being in the same situation because it's just one player. But what we need is guys to come up out of our farm system that we can get really excited about, and even if they're just go on a little hot streak, something to spark the club. Because honestly, it doesn't seem like this team has whatever it is what they had last year. And it seemed like everyone believed mentality is really important. I mean, like Lamont Wade, he thinks that last year he thought he was going to get a hit every time he came up in the ninth. It was it just felt different. I'm not saying, sell off everyone, but honestly, if you run down the Giants roster, this would be a good exercise. Let's say in 2 years when we have like some prospects coming up and maybe we're competing for a World Series, who are the guys that are like, yes, that guy is going to be there in 2 years and he'll be a key piece. And
Logan Webb. Doubt. Logan Webb.
Duvall.
Who else?
And some of those young relievers, maybe Kervin Castro, Duvall.
Batting wise.
In the field, there's nobody.
What I'm saying is,
Coccimilgio will be in the club level.
Yeah. So, like, what does it really matter if we trade some of these guys away? Like, they're not.
Well, Danny, I don't know if we can get a lot for Danny right now. I mean, with his voice cracking up during that call, and that's gotten coast to coast now. It's gotten a lot of attention. No, but I mean, you're right. Your team. Pitching's obviously vital, but your team are the 8 guys that you put on the field every single day. In my mind, that's your team. Okay. Your pitching matters, and obviously it matters a lot, but your team that you invest emotion in, that you invest time supporting, those are the guys who play 1 through 8, in the batting order, 1 through 9 now at the DH. Your position players are your team. And if the Giants had even one guy that you could say, you know what, I'm going and I'm watching this guy, and I know that this guy is going to be part of the mix in the future. One Buster, one young Pablo, one young Luis Matos, one, I'm not sure who that player is, one young Marco Luciano.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean,
one player like that.
Yeah,
to invest in. That's all.
I'm going to throw something out to you guys.
The Giants had that in '86. They did. Yeah. In 1986? They had lost 100 games in '85. They brought in Will Clark and Robbie Thompson. Did they go to the playoffs? No. Did they win 90 games? No. They won 83 games. But why was that year such a success? Because they got the first kind of pieces to the puzzle of the future. And that's when Giants fans started investing themselves and their emotion in that club. And they went to the playoffs in 87 and they won the pennant in 89. All I'm saying is I'd like to see them turn their assets into one player that we can sink our teeth into, position player at the major league level right now that we know, you know what, I'm a Giants fan and I'm going to go buy blankety blank's jersey because damn, I'm sure he's going to be part of the future. They don't have that guy. They don't have a jersey that is being sold from a position player standpoint of anybody right now that people are like, yeah, that's our guy.
Who would be available that you think that they could put their assets together and bring in that one guy? Who would that be? Who would you like to see?
Well, that's difficult. That's difficult. That's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, you have to be so versed in the minor leaguers and all of that. But like, I don't know. I feel like if Farhan is, Farhan's so good at finding these guys that are 28 that, hit 250 but have a little pop and they're overlooked in the minor leagues. Like, why can't he find some younger guys and, pay a little more for them? And just let's load up, because our Giants teams. I loved watching the Giants in like 08, 09 before all of this because of Lincecum. He was freaking electric, and then Pablo is having crazy years, and their whole freaking staff: Bumgarner, Lincecum, Kane. These guys are all. The relievers. They're all through the Giants system. Panic, Belt, Posey. Like that's the way we do it in the Bay Area. It's not LA. Look at the Warriors. It's like the last vast, I don't even know how to say that word. Bastion?
Yeah, last bastion.
Yeah, of a homegrown championship Spurs-like team. We did the same thing with the Giants. How many guys are going to really last their whole careers like these Hall of Fame types like Buster Posey?
All right, let me throw something out to you here. A couple things. Two things. First of all, we're talking marquee player. I'm the GM of the Anaheim Angels, or whatever they are, the LA Angels, and I call Farhan and I say, hey, I've got Mike Trout here.
Danny's trading Mike Trout.
Listen to me.
They're not trading Mike Trout.
Listen to me. I'm seeing that we're in a funk. We're going nowhere, and Trout's getting older. We haven't made the playoffs. And I want to partially rebuild this thing. I want Austin Slater, Lamont Wade, Marco Luciano, Kyle Harrison, and Will Bednar, and I'll give you Trout. What do you do if you're foreign? Do you hang up, or what do you
okay,
do?
let me hear the Hall again. Bednar, Harrison. Who else you got?
Luciano, number one prospect, and Austin Slater. And Duvall, yeah, because Angels want.
I'd do pitching. That. I would do it.
You would.
I would do it. Yeah, because the odds are that prospects. Odds are you're only going to trade. Only one of those guys will be good, and you might lose out. Matos may be a star. The pitchers definitely could be very, very good, but you're talking about the best player in the game.
Yeah, he's
in his prime.
There. Yeah, he's
still... and there's the other team is taking all the risk. You're not taking a risk. You're just getting the best player in the game. I guess you're taking some form of a risk, because what if those guys all became awesome? But it just doesn't happen that way. It really just doesn't. Yeah, I'll take the bird. I'll take the known commodity over prospects almost every day. Mike says
now you've still got that contract with, I don't know how much is left. There's 10, 11 years left on Trout's contract.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing.
As long as you weren't, you didn't fear the calf, if you had if you thought the calf injury was going to be some long-term nightmare situation, I don't know that I'd want to do it then. That would concern me.
Okay. And then here's another one real quick. Brandon Belt, last year, 97 games, hit 29 homers, his best year. This year he's played in about 25, 26 games. Let's say he comes back here in the next week or so, and he plays relatively well and hits over 20 homers when he comes back. Do you re-sign him, or do you let him walk?
You let him walk.
I re-sign him. What do you have? You don't have any. If you have some, the young Willie McCovey coming up, you got a young Will Clark, then that's one thing. But if you don't, why wouldn't you re-sign him?
What? So how much? He has 1 year left on his deal. What did we give Crawford?
2 years. He's got 1 year after this. He's got $16 million a year he signed for. So he's got next year's his last year under contract.
Okay, so maybe I'd make it so that those contracts line up. But honestly, I think Belt would probably, him and his agent would probably spin zone it. Like, look, yeah, I had 25 home runs last year, and this year was just an injury thing, and maybe some, sad sack franchise will give him a bunch of money in years.
I'll tell you what I would try to do. I mean, MLB had an article out this week, and now we're starting to get into the trade season a little bit. And they had one. Did you see this? Did you guys see this article? It was one trade ship from every team in the big leagues. Did you guys see that? And so these are guys that are more likely to be traded. Well, like they have for the Royals, Andrew Benintendi. Andrew, if I could get Andrew Benintendi, I'd be interested. I would try to get Benintendi. I mean,
the Padres are talking about him possibly. Padres go for it. I mean, you look at the difference of what the Padres sign and the guys they're going after. They're
very
market.
Aggressive. AJ Preller is very aggressive. Frankie Montas, they say, is the guy that the A's are going to trade. I'd be interested in Frankie Montas. I'd be interested in, Drew Waters is going to be traded. He's from the Braves. He's a center fielder who's a hot prospect who's been in their system for a while. You know what? His star is dulled in the last couple of years. Maybe 2 years ago, there's no way you could get Drew Waters. Now you probably could get him. I wouldn't be interested in a guy like that. They say that the Marlins may move Garrett Cooper or Jesus Aguilar. Those are two bats that I'd be interested in. Josh Bell from the Nationals. I'd be interested in Josh Bell. I'll tell you the guy that's really interesting that I saw may get moved is that they're saying the Brewers may move some of their young outfielders. They have a young outfielder named Garrett Mitchell who played at UCLA. Garrett Mitchell is a terrific young prospect, and they got a bunch of guys. Now, if you could get Garrett Mitchell from the Brewers, damn right, I would make that trade and I would try to get him. I think he's a terrific young player. So, you got to shop around, you got to figure out the landscape, and you got to see the Padres have a catcher named Luis Campusano, who, they've got guys in front of him. Campusano's, had a 900 OPS or better 3 straight minor league seasons. If you had the right piece, I'd be interested in a guy like Campusano. So it's there's value there. Just got to see, what guys are out there and what the price tag is. But like a young veteran like a Benintendi, he had a real good start to his career with Boston, and he's been one of Kansas City's better hitters. And he's a free agent at the end of the year, but he's young enough. Why wouldn't you, trade a couple pieces for a guy like that and sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal? To me, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, there's there's definitely some of those younger guys. I mean, there's some kickback in the comments section about Trout. Anonymous says Trout is actually on the wrong end of career, 31, injured every year and destined for a DH role. Not saying I would not want him, but not for all those players.
He'd fit in perfectly with our team.
Well, realistically, what are you going to get out of Trout? I mean, for all those players, you're going to get what, 4 years, 5 years, maybe 6?
Yeah.
Then you're stuck with back end of a bad contract with, how many years? I don't know what his contract is. I thought he signed.
It's enormous. It's an enormous contract, but he's the best player in the game and he puts butts in the seats. He's probably worth it.
I like one of the guys' comments in there. I think it was somebody said, I'd only give up Luciano. Yeah. Rebel 44. Yeah. I'd say Soto is the only guy I'd get if Luciano and Harrison are involved. Might have a point. Soto's 23 and, lots of years ahead of him.
I don't believe Soto's available, and I'd be shocked the day that he's traded. I'll be shocked. I just don't believe it. What do you think of this one I've had up on the board here? Rebel 444 says, "I just want our patience and Farhan's master plan to pay off. I mean, next year's year number 5. Just curious, what's everyone's timeline on how they view Farhan's master plan?" That's a good question by Rebel 444.
Master plan. Like, I just, you know what? Honestly, I don't want Trout. I just want I want youth. This team has no pop. I'm sick of being like, oh, you know what? When we all get healthy in 2 weeks, it's like saying like when Jimmy G's healthy, like it's just, we're going to get injured. It's just going to consistently keep happening. We're never going to be whole. Maybe we're whole for a bit and we have a hot stretch, but the likelihood of our team, how old we are and how many injury concerns we have, the likelihood of us being whole for a playoff run is very, very small.
Well, maybe the plan is to be more like the Atlanta Braves when they had Albies and Acuna and
But they
Riley.
develop those guys, and the
Right.
Giants have to. They're not
But the
even there
Giants are
yet.
in the process. All those guys are coming up in the next 2 years. These draft picks that they had in the 19, 20, 21 draft. So they're there. They're coming. So maybe that's part of the plan. And then you infuse some veterans around those younger guys, and you sign those guys to long-term deals. I mean, Posey signed for what, 8 years or 10 years, whatever it was when he was young, and he just finished out the contract last year, and then that was enough. But they never overpaid for Buster. I mean, they got full use out of his contract. And the Braves, I mean, Acuna signed for like $100 million for like 8 years or something like that. Atlanta's got Acuna and Albies signed to these very low.
They've got a system that keeps producing guys, and that's where the Giants have to get to.
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
That's what I know. But I mean, here's the thing: how long? I mean, is the 107 win regular season of 2021? That's right now what Farhan's hanging his hat on. How long before people say, you know what? How long should a master plan take? I mean, they've invested in a bunch of prospects. They've been creative at times. They made a creative deal to get Will Wilson as a prospect. They haven't really had that guy that they drafted come through their system, develop, and be promoted to the majors. Am I missing somebody? Who's the Farhan prospect that was drafted and developed and is now contributing?
There's no one. And I mean, I honestly, like, I know it's really exciting to think about these guys that are coming through the pipeline, but I mean, are these guys really going to be that great? Is anybody?
I think you got a reason to be skeptical. I think you got a reason to be skeptical because it's just the track record. I mean, first of all, it's really, really hard to make the majors. And it's funny, every young prospect that gets drafted, everybody's convinced that he's going to be the next thing. But the last 25 years, 30 years is littered with big name guys who didn't do anything. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, do you believe in Hunter Bishop? Do you believe in all these prospects they're drafting and developing? Is that the plan? We're just going to wait. We're going to draft guys and just kind of wait and hope that they develop. Or are they going to be a little bit more proactive? So it is year 5. I do think I thought they would take a more aggressive approach to building this year's roster than they have. I'm a little surprised they didn't go for bigger names.
I'm going to read you the Dodgers record from 2005 through 2012 before they started winning divisions every year. I think they had a couple good years in there. In 2009 they won the division, but 2005 71 and 91, then 88 74, 07 82 and 80, then 84 78, then 09 they were 95 and 67. Then in 10, 80 and 82, 11, 82 and 79, 12, 86 and 76. And then they started their 8-year reign of the National League West in 13. And they won 90 games ever since 2013. So I guess what I'm saying here is I think the Giants last year was kind of an aberration, but they're in that phase where the Dodgers, it took the Dodgers really from 05, they had that good year in 09 where they won 95 games. But prior to that, they were basically just a little over 500, 85, 82, 81. And the Giants might be in that phase and had this jump last year out of nowhere where they're getting ready to embark on 90-plus wins with their farm hand. It took them many years to develop that, and I know when Larry Baer hired Farhan, it was to take that model, what the Dodgers did,
but don't you think we're years away from that? I mean, don't you think if
one or two? One or
Well,
two.
from
We're-
any
we're-
of these guys being promoted, they're maybe one or two away.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
we're
think-
just talking about being promoted. Then they have to get ready and play and
Oh,
get
yeah.
better and win.
No, I
So
think
I'm just saying, like, yeah, maybe within 2 years, Marco Luciano is ready. Somebody in the chat's like maybe September for No, Marco Luciano's not coming up in September. All right, let's not even think like that because it's just crazy talk. And then anonymous, if Longoria remains healthy and productive, he's the piece the Giants move. Nobody's clamoring for Evan Longoria right now. And you're not getting anything that's gonna, be a major foundation piece of the future for Evan.
Number 25 prospect or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question to ask because I think they're going to have to get really creative. These are their top prospects: Luciano, Kyle Harrison, Luis Matos, Will Bednar, Elliot Ramos, Jairo Pomeranz, Patrick Bailey, Hunter Bishop, Matt Mikulski, who's a left-handed pitcher, and Averson Arteaga, who's a young shortstop. So that's their top 10.
So Larry, I brought this up because, I know it's like, oh, maybe 2 years. It's like, okay, first of all, a lot of these guys aren't going to, end up producing. And I mean, if you look at their stats, I don't know, this might be too small to see. But Luciano's hitting 288 in Eugene. Harrison, that's fine. Harrison,
and he's 20. He's 20.
Harrison is, has a 3.05 ERA in Double-A. Matos is hitting 176, 149. He's in 149 in Eugene. Bednar, 380. Ramos, obviously, he's hitting 210 in Sacramento. Patrick Bailey. I know we rip on Bart. Patrick Bailey's hitting 209 in Eugene.
Right. That's what I'm saying. These prospects are great, but they're just prospects. I would trade any number of these guys for Mike Trout.
There's no
guarantee that these guys are ever going to make it. You want to do an exercise, right? It's 2022. Go get 2017's Baseball America top 10 list for the Giants. 2017. And we'll have a nice little chuckle on that. It's just proof that, the most prospects crap out. Most of them don't make it. Right. So I'm not saying trade all your guys, but don't be afraid to trade them if you got a good deal on the table. That's what I would say.
Right. I agree with that. I just think that these prospects, a lot of it is just about development. They're looking to develop these guys, get them into the system that they want them to follow, and it's going to take some time for them to be up and successful. And like you said, Larry, a lot of these guys are tremendous prospects at 17, 18 years old, like a Luciano, and then
okay, this is a great exercise. This is a phenomenal exercise. This is the Giants' top 10 list of prospects. What year?
From 2017. Baseball.
2017. Here we go. Number 1, Tyler Beede.
Gone.
In the big leagues, but gone. Number 2, Christian Arroyo. In the big leagues, but gone. Number 3, Chris Shaw.
Gone.
Not in the big leagues. Bust.
Brian Reynolds. There's
total bust. Number 4, Brian Reynolds. Best
All-star
player on the list. He stars with the Pirates. Number 5, Andrew Suarez. I think he's pitching in Korea. 6, Ty Block.
He's with the Rockies. And
what's his role?
He's a mop-up bullpen guy. Long
7,
relief.
7, Joan Gregorio.
Joan. Joan Gregorio.
Joan from accounting.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 8, Sandro Fabian. Nope. Anybody?
Yeah.
Bueller. Number 9, Aramis Garcia.
He's with somebody. Nationals. I think he's with the Nationals.
He's a major leaguer.
Yeah.
Number 10, Steven Duggar. So of those top 10, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys who are in the major leagues, 4 that aren't. And
1 star.
easily the best guy on the list is Brian Reynolds. I would say Christian Arroyo is the second best guy in that list.
And then probably
And
Duggar.
you moved both of them.
Yeah, and Duggar's
And then Duggar,
serviceable player.
probably Duggar. So
But
I mean,
he's not an all-star. You can
Duggar's
get
a
a
fourth.
Duggar.
Duggar's a fourth outfielder.
Yeah,
Christian Arroyo is a
utility.
As a utility, he might be a little bit better than utility. He's
he's playing right field a lot.
He's a platoon guy.
Yeah, he's a right fielder, but he can also play the infield.
So you got one defensive outfielder, one platoon infielder, and one everyday center fielder who you traded for Andrew McCutchen. So there you go. By the way, Anonymous says Reynolds is hitting 216. All right. Well,
So if you went back to, it'd be interesting though, because if you went back to like 2009, 10 with the Giants, you might see more
the same
players.
thing.
Well,
Go ahead. Go ahead. You want pick your year, Danny? Pick your year. I will dig up the list.
2000, let's say 7 or 8. I bet you had Buster and Bumgardner, and you might have had Pablo.
Go ahead. Dial up 2007 Baseball America top 10 Giants. I'm sure there are some good players there for sure.
I don't know when Posey got drafted. He got drafted in 2008, I think, because he came up at the end of 9 and then was a regular in 10. He didn't stay in the minors long.
No, in fact, John Barr was the Giants farm director when they drafted him, and John had been following him when he was with the Dodgers. And like one of the things that John knew when he came to the Giants is he knew that they wanted Buster to be that first round pick, and they weren't sure if he would fall to them. And sure enough, he did.
All right, the Dodgers wanted him, you said?
Well, John was in L.A. with the Dodgers. They took him from the Dodgers. He came from the Dodgers. So I don't know that the Dodgers would have taken him. I don't think the Dodgers had that pick. But, he came to the Giants, and he told me in an interview that they wanted Buster, and they just didn't think Buster would fall to them. And then they barely signed Buster in the 11th hour, I believe.
I've got okay. This is the Baseball America. It's not actually the Baseball America website, but it is the Baseball America one
list.
Second. It's interesting. It even has a projected 2023 line or 2013 lineup, which would be interesting. All right, this is kind of a bad format, but here,
sit up here in the corner.
Okay, top 10 prospects. Posey's
Bumgardner 1, Bumgarner's 2, Wheeler's 3, then Thomas Neal, Dan Runzler, Tommy Joseph, Roger Kieschnick, Irhari Adrianza, Brandon Crawford, Francisco Peguero.
4 all-stars in that top 10. Posey, Hall of Famer, Bumgardner, perennial all-star pitcher, Zach Wheeler's
2 hitters, 2 pitchers. Yep.
And Brandon Crawford.
Yeah, that was a good little run there for the Giants for sure.
This is I kind of like projected 2013 lineup. Posey at catcher, Tommy Joseph first base, Nick Noonan second base, third base Pablo, shortstop Crawford, left field Thomas Neal, Francisco Peguero center, Roger Kieschnick.
That's quite the outfield. The Neal Peguero Kieschnick outfield.
Oh, this is a hell of a starting 5.
Look at that 5, yeah.
Look at that starting pitching staff. Lincecum, Kane, Bum, Wheeler, Sanchez with Johnny Sanchez with B. Weezy closing.
That was a pretty accurate guesstimate too.
Oh, this is top prospects of the decade.
By year. So, yeah, the Giants had Kurt Ainsworth, and he was unbelievable, and they traded him for Sidney Ponson, and they had Jerome Williams, and they had Jesse Foppert, and they had Merkin Valdez, and they had Matt Cain.
Villalona.
Angel Villalona, who unfortunately got involved in a issue with the law. So, I mean, it's just, you never know. You just never know on these prospects. So it's just, it's a tough one.
I just hope that the 2000, what was that, the 7 or the 9 class we were looking at that had 4 stars? Was that 2007?
08.
08. whatever that list is that had Wheeler, Crawford, Bum, and Posey, if we can have one of those right now, if there's 4 guys in our top 10 that, as I look at their top 10, I would say that Luciano, I'm going to pull up their top 10 list right now here again. Okay, so we got Luciano as
Wait, I'm going to
one.
pull something up this because it's
Kyle
Baseball
Harrison.
America, and it gives like top draft picks of the decade and by year and stuff, and that it's a little sad when you look at it. So,
But I mean, they've got to have 3 or 4 guys if you're going to be successful at really developing your team. You've got to have some hits in there, because I look at the the Braves, for example. I use them already, but Acuna, Albies, and Riley, and then they had Freeman, that just obviously left to go to the Dodgers. But that was 4 top players that came through their system. And then you look at their pitching staff: Max Fried and the young right-hander. Can't think of his name, but he pitched really good in the playoffs and World Series.
I mean, this is pretty sad. I mean, top prospects of the decade: 2013 Kyle Krueg, 2014 Kyle Krueg, 15 Andrew Susak, 16 Christian Arroyo, 17 Tyler Beatty, 18 Elliot Ramos, 19 Bart, 20, and then we got Luciano for 3 years.
It's going to take a while. It's going to take some time for sure. I mean, if you said to me, give me the most automatic prospect, it's always risky to take anybody in the A ball or lower. So you'd want to get somebody who's a little bit older. But then, a lot of times these guys, prospects go from, he's going to be your ace to he's going to make the majors, but he's going to be a 4th or 5th starter. Or like Joey Bart. He's a 2nd pick in the draft. He's going to be a star. He's going to be a major player in your lineup. And then all of a sudden, push comes to shove, and right now he looks like he might be more like Mike Zunino, big, strong, 220 hitting. Is he going to have a major league career? Probably, but is he going to actually be a big time hitter, or is he just going to have power? To me, it looks like just kind of an all or nothing kind of a guy right now. I mean, missing pitches by miles, swinging through everything, every kind of pitch known to man. So, it's just, it's a failure-based deal, and you're going to miss more than you hit. Yeah. I would say, based on what I've seen, I would say Luis Matos looks like the best prospect they have. But who knows? You just don't know. Maybe it's Kyle Harrison.
Yeah. What about the international market? Like, what are we doing there?
Well,
they signed a bunch of guys, Lucius Fox, and just didn't. They haven't really had anybody just absolutely. I mean, they've bid on some. I mean, Luciano's probably the highest rated guy they've ever signed.
They have Ryan Reckley is listed as the number 9
from the Bahamas,
international guy right now. I mean, it looks like he's
fast infielder from the Bahamas.
Yeah, Giants website has him 20 and as their 24th prospect, and ETA is 2026. So they're not looking at him for 4 more years at the earliest, probably. And he's a young guy. They've got Grant McCrae, who saw him down in spring.
He's
training
athletic. I saw him in spring training.
Yeah.
What about this one, Larry? Mike says, what happened to Luis Toribio? Is Toribio on your list there?
Toribio, you mean?
Toribio plays 3rd, left-handed line drive hitter.
Yeah, he's the 22nd prospect on the Giants website.
Yeah, I mean he's exciting. I've seen him. He's got bat speed, and he's got a nice flat stroke, and he plays the good third base. I mean they have some guys, but it's just they've always had some guys. It's a matter of how many of their guys can get out of A ball and then go to AA, solve AA, get to AAA, make it to the majors, get established. There's an awful lot of prospects that, don't make it.
Don't make it. You look at Bart being the 2nd overall pick, you would, based on where he was picked, you would say, wow, he's got more potential than Posey. I mean, Posey was picked 5th in the draft, right? So Bart was the number 2 guy in the overall draft. Now the draft may not have been as strong. I don't remember what that draft was at Posey, who went before him, but
I think Gordon. I think Beckham. I believe not Gordon Beckham, but the other kid Beckham, Tim Beckham. I think went to Tampa. I forget the Posey. Maybe Rye could find the Posey draft, but
pull up the
Skipworth. I think from LSU, the catcher might have gone in there.
Pull up the
Kyle Skipworth
1985 draft, MLB draft. It was considered the top draft in history of Major League Baseball. Look at the stars that were drafted first in 1985. It's unbelievable. That's the year Will Clark went 2nd to the Giants. I think Barry Bonds.
Posey went 5th.
Yeah.
It was
who went 1 through 4?
Tim Beckham, Pedro Alvarez, Eric Hosmer, Brian Matus,
yeah.
Buster Posey. And then, I mean, guys behind him that are, notable. Gordon Beckham, I guess. Aaron Hicks. Garrett Cole went 28th. Connor, oh, God.
Check the 1985 draft. And while you're doing that, here's another thought I thought about today watching this series with the Rockies. We do all this platooning, right? We're the masters of platooning. And we had Connor Joe in 2019. Now he goes and moves on, and he's the Rockies. He's leading off. He's in the lineup every day, and he's facing Logan Webb, a very tough right-handed pitcher, but he's in the lineup. They don't platoon. We platoon almost everybody. I mean, unless it's Brandon Crawford or when Belt's healthy or Yaz, everybody seems to be in a platoon position. We don't have that everyday player. I mean, we do in Crawford because he's so great at shortstop, but he doesn't hit left-handed pitching that great. And Belt can't hit Kershaw worth a lick. So, he's not the greatest against left-handed pitching, but we don't have that star hitter like a Posey who can hit right-handed or left-handed pitching. And that's what's, I think, really the Giants lack. You look at the Dodgers, they put out almost the same lineup out every game because they put Freeman at first, at short it's Taylor, at third it's Chris Turner, Justin Turner. I mean, they got Betts in the outfield, they got Bellinger and Chris Taylor, but they play those guys. There's no platooning hardly. They do at times, but we just don't have the horses that seems like a guy that you can throw out there every day. And like what you were saying earlier in the show, Larry, the star, a guy.
Derek Brantley says good hitters cost money. There's no question. And his power costs money for sure. Hey, let's do this. Let's have a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with a little bit more on the Krueg Show. Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coccimilgio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number, 925-628 628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Dan Coccimilgio and all the people at Secure Money for being proud sponsors of the Krueg Show. And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com, often imitated, never equaled. And they are a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. Thanks to them as well.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
There you go.
Hey,
Thanks
Luigi.
to
Thank you, Luigi.
and Pasquale. All right, let's get our let's not confuse Pasquale and Luigi. Danny, looks like you got a nice little ice cream cone going there.
Yeah,
Look at that.
It's 108 here today.
Man. You know, is Buster getting any of that, or where's Buster? It's not a complete show unless we can check in with Buster.
Come on, Buster. He's down the hall. Come here, Buster.
Buster's listening to a podcast about animal treats.
There you go. Sit, Buster. Say hello to everybody. Hey,
There
Buster,
you go.
Sit. All right.
There we go. There's Buster.
Keith. I love how we just completely ignore your other dog.
Faith is kind of a
What?
Player.
Faith is what?
Faith's a good dog.
All right.
Faith's a good dog. She was an orphan, and she's I rescued her, and she's a good dog.
Orphan.
All right, guys. I'm off to see JV baseball, a little summer league.
Sweet.
We're back at it tonight. I'm doing a little Niner roundtable with Grant Cohn and with Jack Hammer at 8:00. Little live stream breaking down mini camp. But we're back at it tomorrow as well. We got Giants Dodgers tomorrow night. What do you guys think?
I'm thinking about the Warrior game.
Yeah, that's right. We get the combo. We get Game 4 Warriors and we got Giants Dodgers tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's going to be off the hook.
Hey, you know, every time we go on after the Warriors finish first, the Giants seem to win the game in walk-off fashion. So
that's true. I mean, God.
They've won 2 walk-offs.
So, guys, do you have anything more that you want to add here, or do you want to continue on, or I can just duck out for the baseball game if you have more to say, or we can just call it a wrap.
Maybe we could take a few calls, not calls, but more just answer a few comments and then call it a wrap in a few minutes. We can clean up the chat room Ryan, what do you
Sounds
think?
good. Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, have a good rest of your night. We will catch you tomorrow. And thanks everybody for tuning into the Krueg Show. Keep listening. Danny and Ryan straight ahead without your.
All right, now that he's gone. No. All right, everybody in the chat, if you want to engage, I don't know. I mean,
hey, right now it's just kind of tough. I mean, the Giants are treading water. They're not looking like a solid major league team. They're really, from the time they were 13-5, they're now have won 17 and lost. Let's see, they've 27. So 17-22 in their last 39 games. So
I mean, it feels about right. They feel like a 500 team. I mean, it's. I mean, honestly, you know what? Want to talk about this? What adjustments do you think the Warriors can make for tomorrow night?
I think what they need to do is obviously have a lot more intensity, but some of the things we talked about last night that I think going forward important is more minutes from Peyton and Bielisa. They played a combined 14 minutes, the two of them. So I think Bielisa should have anywhere about 15 minutes and Peyton should have about 25 plus, whether it's Peyton rotating for giving Steph a little break or giving Clay or Poole. Keep Peyton out there. Keep him out there. Let him play 25 to 30 minutes. Good things happen when he's on the floor. That's one I'd really like to see. I'd like to see more rebounding, so more Porter and Bielitsa, maybe even a little bit of Andre.
I want to see the gang rebounding that we saw ever since the Memphis series, where, I mean, that's where the Warriors get so devastating, is when we get offensive rebounds, kick it out for three. I mean, look, I rewatched the fourth quarter. I mean, honestly, it kind of just spun out of control. And looking back, Cy was really harsh on Kerr. Looking back, they should have kept Curry in the game. I mean, we didn't know he's going to have this injury, but there's no reason why he shouldn't have played 40 minutes last night. And they had Boston on the ropes when they got up, and then he took Curry out, and then Boston immediately, got confident, started hitting shots, and then, we ended up kind of clawing back and making it, a 4-point game going into the fourth. But it's just we lost the momentum, and then, once that happens, then it's just, who is going to gain the momentum in the fourth? That seems like that's kind of the series so far, is who can control, who can gain momentum. And honestly, Tatum had kind of a cheap foul. He got some free throws. Honestly, Curry shot a three that I didn't really remember, but he missed it, but he probably should have gotten called for a foul, or probably should have got free throws. And it was just a bunch of things adding up. But, I was really, really critical of Draymond. I've never been that critical of Draymond. I said, he should have been out of the game. We should have put Looney in. I listened to his podcast after the game. He said that was the worst game he's ever played, and that, he came out soft. And that's now 2 times in this series where he's basically had to say, I didn't have it today. Because you know what? Clay showed up. Steph showed up. If Draymond was there, we let them play their pace. We need to dictate the pace. And that is Curry dictates the offense and the way the game flows. And then Draymond's supposed to dictate the defense. And the thing is we never got them out of the paint. Rewatching it, they put Tatum on Draymond Green, and he didn't have to do anything. And then they put Horford on Wiggins, who wasn't making threes, and so they just packed in the paint. And because they didn't have to. Yeah, they could keep all those guys down there. Like you said, Tatum is 6'9", 6'10", plus you got Williams, and then you got Horford. And if Draymond's basically, for lack of better word, he's like a no-show on offense. I mean, when he's not at least taking it to the hoop and driving and either taking it up the hoop with authority or dishing it out, he's really not much
because you don't have to guard him if he's out there on outside the key. You just don't.
You don't even have to guard him when he's inside the key. Like that's the problem is like
I know
it's specifically with Robert Williams and Horford out there, he's too afraid to shoot. And then the key to the Warriors dynasty and the Warriors offense is not the threes. The threes are great. The threes are momentum. But when it really gets rolling, it's the threes and the pressure of the threes leading to all these layups.
Yeah.
And Boston basically said, I don't care if you make these crazy threes. I don't care. We're going to stick with our plan. We're going to keep dropping on Curry. We don't care if Curry goes off. Nobody else is going to beat us, and we're going to pack the paint. You're not going to get any easy points. And I honestly don't really know how we adjust.
Here's the other thing, and I don't care what people say. I know Larry disagrees with me on this, but I think Green was a motivational factor for Boston to be as up as they were. Those guys were ticked at what happened in game 2 with some of his shenanigans, and Jaylen Brown specifically. He even made the comment, he even tried to pull my shorts down. I don't know what that was about. And then Green, to do all that, thinking he's getting into their heads, they were motivated, and he had the fan base motivated before the game. And when you do that kind of stuff, you put yourself, in my opinion, in a lose-lose, because if you talk smack and you're successful, people can't stand you, right? And if you're unsuccessful, they love it. So he's in a lose-lose situation, and he's putting too much emphasis and focus on himself rather than the game and the team. I don't know. I know the players probably they're professionals and they deal with it. But imagine Steph going off talking like that, or Clay, and I
mean, Clay, honestly, it sucks to say, but people are turning on Clay now because that was kind of soft the way he was like called he was like, oh, very classy boss. Like, I don't know, it's the playoffs. Like, our crowd said a bunch of shit in the past. Like, I don't like that kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were. The Boston crowd, the East Coast crowd, especially New York, Boston, they're going to throw it at you. And it's, they're dropping F-bombs left and right, and they don't really care. That's just the way the New England, I lived in New England for 7 years. So I know what it's like back there, but it's just it's a rough crowd. It's a lot of blue collar. It's tough. And, you got to expect it. I mean, I was reading things that people couldn't even wear jerseys out there yesterday after the game. They're getting flipped off and told to.
Oh, I wore a Giants jersey to Fenway, and like 5 guys tried to fight me, and it's like, what? We have no relation whatsoever. Like, who cares?
It's nuts. They take things very, very serious back there, but I just think Draymond, at this point, if they win tomorrow night, just focus. Don't go popping off. Say, I told you we'd be back at, just focus. You got 3 games left. I mean, old school coaches, guys like especially in football, and just some of those old school guys, they would say, no, nobody doing your podcast. I mean, they didn't have podcasts back then, but it kind of bugs me a little bit that Draymond is so focused on doing all this stuff, and just he's had 2 bad games, and all he does is he's still the focus, whether it's a good game or a bad game. And it's not so much what he's doing on the court that's the positive focus. It's the negative stuff that's happening on the court, and then it translates into what's happening off the court. And I don't know. That's why last night when I said we were talking about, Poole or Wiggins, which one would you sign if you could only sign one? And I would say time to move on from Draymond, just because of his age, and I think his offensive skills have deteriorated more and more since. I mean, in 2015, he was hitting almost 40% from three.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, they're not going to get rid of Dre, and I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win this thing. I would not be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Mark Graves says, "Why don't they pressure Smart when he brings up the ball? He isn't a good ball handler." Yeah, that was something they were doing in Game 2. Is they were picking guys up full court. Honestly, the only adjustment I could I would rather have Jason Tatum like beating us than just everyone chipping in with a barrage. And yeah, I mean, we should be pressuring the ball, trying to get steals, to get out in transition. I mean, if I'm Steve Kerr, the one thing I'm doing is I'm lobbying my ass off about Smart. Like, Smart and Jaylen Brown are hand checking the hell out of Curry and Thompson off the ball. And it's like, I don't know, like, especially if Curry is going to be hobbled. I mean, he should lobby the refs and be like, look, you can't have these shenanigans. Like, this is the NBA Finals. Like, whatever. Like, you're calling Curry for touch fouls. He's in foul trouble and all this stuff, and now he's injured because you guys let a play go on. Like, it. I mean,
yeah, it's total. The contradiction of what they called and didn't call is unbelievable. I mean, it's frustrating to me that the rule is that you use your challenge and you're right, it's done. Because when he got that first foul, I was like, dang, that's going to come back to haunt us, because it was so early. And then he got the second one, which when he jumped and, tried to block the shot, which was not smart. But that first foul and then the third one where Smart.
Oh, those were bull. I mean, no other NBA superstar.
No.
Especially a little guy like Curry. Like, just the problem is that Curry doesn't know the tricks on defense of like how you can foul but not get called. You have to keep your elbows in. You can't ever extend. So, here's the thing. I think Boston is the better team. I know everyone disagrees with me. I think Boston's a better team. I thought experience could work, cause us to, finish this thing out in 7 when they get tight. I think at this point, it's like the Warriors, if they were to win this series, if they're to win this next game, honestly, we got to rely on them to kind of melt down the way they have been. They're kind of an every other team or every other game team. We got to hope that they kind of melt down. And I mean, they've kind of played, out of their out of their minds, honestly, like for 2 out of the 3 games shooting wise. And we've just kind of been steady.
I think Boston is a young, confident team. I think Udoka provides them with a attitude that Brad Stevens didn't have. I mean, you look at the personalities between Stevens and Udoka. I'm not talking X's and O's or strategy at all here. I'm just talking about mentality. Udoka is like kind of like get in your face, intimidate kind of guy. And Brad Stevens just seemed like just a nice, easygoing guy. Didn't seem like anybody that's going to ruffle your feathers. I mean, Udoka gets right up there and stares you down. I mean, and the players seem to have that chip on their shoulder that they didn't have under Stevens. Udoka seems to carry these guys. They all have this kind of chip but they don't, but it's a controlled type of attitude. It's not, they're not losing control. You see a couple guys that start to lose control last night. I think it was Grant Williams started to get upset, and then they came over, calmed him down. Jaylen Brown's got upset a couple times, and a couple of vets come over. Hey, just focus. And
I think their team goes as Marcus Smart goes. Like, I think he is the heart and soul of their team. I guess you could say he's a little bit like a Draymond. And I mean, because you know what it kind of feels like? Kind of feels like us in 2015. And I said that, and Sai got pissed at me for it, but I mean, look at the similarities. It's like they have this young team, they've had some runs in the playoffs, some momentum, couldn't get over the hump, got rid of their coach, brought in a new voice that, it took some time to get used to. But once they did, once they bought in, we took off. And it's kind of the same thing. It's Steve Kerr replacing Mark Jackson. It's Udoka replacing Brad Stevens,
Right.
this young team. I mean,
no, they're responding well to him. I think the Warriors actually, if they play their bench more, have as much or more depth than Boston. But Kerr is not, for some reason, he's not using the bench as much, because I think the Warriors are a deep club, and I think they have 9 guys that can play. I personally would like to see Kuminga get in there and rough it up a little bit, because he's as athletic as anybody Boston has, and you can counter some of that athleticism and their jumping ability and their reach with Kuminga. Because I personally, if Draymond is playing like crap, I would like to see Kuminga replace him, because at least he's a threat from 3, and he can drive the ball, and he can spin and take it to the hoop. And he's quicker. He's not going to play as great a defense as Draymond, but when you have a liability like that on offense, Draymond's best, it seems like, when he's bringing the ball up, setting screens, and he's kind of running the offense a little bit more. But
that's the Celtics.
The Boston Celtics.
The Celtics are forcing us not to be able to play that way, though. Like that's the thing, is we're playing the Celtics game. That's why I didn't really understand why everyone after game 2 was like, oh, you know what, right, it's a wrap, whatever. Because I thought that Boston has pretty much controlled, aside from from the 3, third quarters, Boston's pretty much controlled every game.
Yeah, I don't think when the narrative that says that we've won all the quarters, we're really not. It's pretty even, or Boston's won a lot of the quarters. It's the third quarters that we have dominated. I mean, game 2 we dominated the first, we were, well, it was a pretty close game at halftime.
We were down 2 at half.
No, I think we were up. We were down 2 or up 2?
Down 2.
At half?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, it's been pretty close all the way around, but the Warriors have done very well in the third quarter, but the Celtics have dominated the 2 fourth quarters, game 1 and 3. And, there's a kind of a saying, you can make comebacks, but you got to win. And the Warriors made a great comeback last night, but they didn't win.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference in coming back and winning. So we have got to make those adjustments. It's going to be, I think it's a back and forth series. I'm hoping, the Warriors get the next 2 and go up 3-2. And then from there, it's, anything could happen. The Warriors could win it in 6, or Boston could come back and win the last 2. There's nothing that says if the Warriors win game 4 and 5 that the series is over, because Boston we've seen what they've done. They have no problem winning game 7 on the road.
No.
And they beat the the Bucks in game 7 at home, but they had to go to game 6 on the road, elimination, and they won.
Yeah.
So I think Boston is getting more confident as this series goes along. They're not intimidated or afraid of the Warriors. Kind of have to hope Boston beats themselves with turnovers, and that the Warriors just have to come out and play their A game. They can't turn the ball over. Last night, they got back into the game, took the lead, but then, as we talked about, 6 turnovers. And they've got to have play it with more control. And, the part that really bothers me, Ryan, is when the Warriors try and make the perfect pass in traffic. I'm all for the breakaway pass when somebody's open and lobbing it over somebody's head, but trying to split it between 2 people on a bounce pass or something like that. I saw Draymond do that last night in a key point, and got thrown away. And then Steph had those three turnovers, kind of bang, bang, bang. So, I mean, they're going to blitz Steph. And if Steph is not 100%, I expect them to probably really try and take him out of the game as much as possible.
Oh, they're going to go at him also, like on defense with his knee. I mean, it's just going to come down to this: is Rob Williams not going to recover in time to be the impact factor he was? And then is Curry going to be 90%? And is Draymond and Clay going to play an A- game at least? That's it for me.
Yeah, for me, it's having the rotations, getting Bielisa and Peyton in there. And if Iguodala is, I don't know what the cameo appearance was last night, 2 minutes. I don't know, if it was just maybe that's all he could play because they put him in on defensive times where, into the half or into the quarter, and they put him in for defensive purposes, which is great. And maybe that's all you can really count on him at this point. Maybe his knee or his neck or whatever's bothering me, he's not able to go give you 10 minutes. So maybe it's just using him in spurts, but I would like to see them utilize more of that bench. And to me, I'd like to see, I really think Kuminga giving him a few minutes to see how he responds to the pressure. And if he's, sometimes you can know in 2 minutes. You can watch what he's doing. You can see if he's in the flow of the offense, and if he's doing good on defense, then you can extend that 2 minutes or 3 minutes. But I think it's worth a shot because they are so much bigger and stronger in the paint, and we need some of that athleticism. And, I just think the kid has done it before. I've seen it, and I know regular season, but I've seen him spark the team on some really good runs because he's running the floor really good, and he's a threat on offense with that lob down there or getting into the paint. Maybe he has to kick it out to an open 3 look, but at least you got to play him honestly because he can hit the open 3. If you leave him wide open, he'll hit.
Yeah, but that's also a win for Clarence Beeks, biggest game of the dynasty tomorrow. I agree. You know what? I say we wrap. There's not too many people in the chat anymore.
Yeah.
Let's just get ready for tomorrow. And man, I just hope there's a potential for ecstasy in the post game tomorrow. That could be insane. We could have Warriors back in it. Curry look good, and Giants take care of the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean the hard part right now is with the when I look at the standings with the Giants right now, the Dodgers won today, and the Giants lost, so they gave up another game. And as bad as they were playing, they were only 5.5 out as of yesterday. But right now, let me just look real quick at the stand. I think I want to 7 or 7.5.
6.5.
6.5. Okay, so they were only 5.5 out. There's cruddy. They lose 2 or 3 to the Rockies, and they're only 6.5 out. I mean, potentially they had the potential to get right back in it with a sweep. I mean, if they go sweep the Dodgers and they come out of this weekend 3.5 out,
that's not happening.
I don't believe it will. But can you imagine the mood, how fast it can change? But they also have the ability to be 9.5 out. I mean, it's more likely that they're 9.5 out than 3.5 out, right?
Oh,
I mean, you just hope they win 2 or 3 and stay within 5.5 and stay within a distance of, that they can make a run at them possibly. But again, I'm not all for the division this year because it's not a single elimination wild card game. So to me, if you can get anywhere into this playoff dance, so to speak, you got a shot. And that's all as Giants fans that we could ask for.
Oh, absolutely. And with that, let's end on a positive note.
He's going to drive to the hoop again. He kicks it out to Wiggins. Wiggins drives, goes in for a monster slam.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need